And this week's episode is again brought to you by Outlook Online, Outlook in the browse online on the web. Oh, forget it. Yeah, okay. We'll figure that one out. Oh, and there's something about private channels that people might want to know about. Roland? Voila. Hello, this is Darrell as a service.
And this is Daniel Glenn coming to you live from Nashville, Tennessee, the home of the amazing storms and beautiful rainbows.
Oh, you storms too, huh? What were your storms like?
Lots and lots of wet stuff. So lots of rain. I think we had over 2 inches in, it was about 45 minutes or so. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I think that's right. Someone said they had a proper collector, rain gauge.
Yeah.
That's what they're
called.
Rain gauge. And it was over 2 inches, and it happened in just under an hour. And I mean, obviously I think that was kind of in spots like that, but it was in that bad. But rainbows. I posted a picture over the weekend, beautiful rainbow. So anyway,
nice one. We managed to dodge some rain too, and I go for my weekend outing with wifey. We managed to get out to the Botanic Gardens again, and it was dumping down on either side. As if the skies cleared, and we were enjoying it and taking awesome pictures, and the park was clear, and then we got in, and yeah. Speaking of and raining, we've got a rain cloud of announcements that have dropped in the message center, beginning with let's.
This is a shock to me, Darrell, and I'm flabbergasted. I am taken off guard.
You are.
I just can't believe this one, Darrell.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. They need to give us a little bit more, notice. Sorry, I'm done with my sarcasm.
Done with the sarcasm.
For that bit. Skype for Business Online is retiring. I was using sarcasm because we knew this was happening, right? We've been told for a while.
It was coming.
And it's still coming because it's not happening, but the official date is set now.
Yep. 31st of July, 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And this is just Skype for Business Online. You still can use Skype for Business on-prem. That'll be, or on server rather, business server, sorry. Will still be supported on-prem for some time. But it's online, which, of course, everything's moving to Microsoft Teams. So, yeah.
Bless you.
Yeah, excuse me.
Didn't know if that was a sneeze or...
So no surprises there.
Yep.
Anything you need to do to prepare? Well, there have been some preparations that have been happening, and actually in early days it was just happening for you. Remember back last year when if you weren't really using Skype for Business, then they did this automatic change for a certain number of seats in an organization. But there's the links there to the comprehensive guides and making sure that you're getting plenty of time to get yourself out of hybrid mode, still make your plans to start shifting into Teams. And a good friend of ours, and I know there's a few that have covered this, but Lorian covered a scenario where you can just deploy Teams as if it was a replacement for Skype for Business. So you can still take that gradual approach and you don't have to, do the whole collaborative dance initially. Though you will be missing out.
Yeah, which is good. I think we've talked about it before, adoption, it's not just here's a tool, go learn it. Okay, we've adopted it. Adoption is more than that. And so sometimes you do have to take a gradual approach and make sure that it's not only a good fit for your organization, but the way you're rolling it out is a good fit. So it's cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lorian.
There's some improvements to accuracy in the usage analytics. It will be minor. You will notice some changes in your figures, but they will be apparently more accurate. And and in particular for Exchange Online, OneDrive for Business, and SharePoint Online. That change is coming out by the end of August. We're already into August.
Yep. So those 3 services, right, Darrell?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they are 3 services. Look, sorry, it's none of your business. It's none of your business, please.
Okay, Google.
I had a doozy before. It was yesterday, and I was watching a video, and Siri thought she heard her own name. Whoops, there she is again. And it just chimed on in there.
Nice.
Anyway, Power BI, changing from an MSI to an EXE so that you've got a bit more that you can include in the installer, namely languages.
Right. And I think this is, what do you need to do to prepare for this change? There's 2 things. One is if you're deploying this for your organization through a deployment technology and not, users are not going and getting it themselves, but you're deploying it, then you're going to have to change the way you deploy, difference between MSI and EXE. So that shouldn't be a big deal. You're just going to have to make that modification. The second is the team, and we've seen this in blog posts and other things, the Microsoft Power BI team would love for you to actually download the Power BI from the Microsoft Store. So they're kind of pushing for people to use this. Now, this is the reason why is that they can actually update that a whole lot faster, right? They're on a monthly cycle right now of updating the desktop for it to be down the store and not have to, wait for you to download it or whatever. It's like an auto update. Well, that's great, but as I tell in my classes when I'm doing workshops or I'm doing sessions and including Power BI, they don't tell anybody, but sometimes there's bugs in the desktop. And so what I suggest is not rolling out the latest and greatest desktop for a little while, because they'll sometimes, patch it and then republish it and all that kind of stuff. So if you have it in the App Store, you're automatically going to get those updates, whether you want it or not. When you do updates through the App Store. So anyway, but they would like for you to do it that way so that you do get the new features and everybody's kind of on the same version, as it were, right? Because you call in and say I have a problem or whatever, and the first question they have to ask is what's your version, because you may be on 6 months past, right? Or whatever.
Yep. And that's all part of, I guess, bring it up to that same way of deployment and keeping things really recent, just like we've been used to with Office 365 Pro Plus. Excuse me.
That's a lot of words. Okay.
I know. It was repetitive.
Let's talk about the health dashboard, Darrell.
Yeah. So something's gone wrong, and there have been a few push notifications I've had over the last week.
Yes, but have you had an experience where you see something that's going wrong, you go to the health dashboard, and there's nothing there as being going wrong? Like it doesn't say there's an issue. Yes, I have to. I've sometimes SharePoint, there was one time when, well, anyway, we won't talk about it, but, things where it's like, wait a minute, my page looks really weird. My logo's missing, completely gone. Where did it go? And then it was fixed. Yay. But I went to the Service Health Dashboard and it wasn't there. There was no issue. So this update, Darrell, we're going to be able to report those kind of things, right?
Yeah, I like the thought that you go there, and if it's not reflecting your true experience of Office 365 in your environment, then you actually get to. It's different to log in a service ticket where you're actually saying I want help. It's a way of you signaling, hey, I'm one of the voices that's saying there's something wrong here. Maybe you should look at it again.
This is typically what we do on Twitter, right? We go on Twitter and we say, anybody noticing that blah, blah, blah is going on? Microsoft would rather you go into the Service Health Dashboard and click Report an Incident
Yeah.
And what I'm expecting from this, and I'm just kind of reading into this, is that maybe, there's someone a service or something that's watching these messages come in and go, some sort of AI, maybe, I don't know. But, and so, we're starting to get, pop-ups of there's an issue with this. So maybe we go, report that to the engineering team, and that, and be very proactive on that. I hope that's the case.
Well, like you bring up
I also
Twitter,
think there's going to be some garbage too, to be honest.
Yeah, there probably will be. There probably will be panic
or
stuff
issues that are self-induced that they don't know about. So if you have a SharePoint site, right?
Yeah.
And your buddy is the site collection administrator, and he went and changed some CSS.
Yeah.
And now things are jacked up, and you're like, oh, this is messy. Report an incident. When
Hey, you bring up Twitter, and like I know that's one use for Twitter and social media. We go, hey, what's happening? What's going on? There's a good Twitter handle, official handle, MSFT365 status, which I follow, but I also drop it in so that I get purposeful push notifications that'll come up on screen. And I'm just thinking, like, I know that they say, oh, we've noticed this behavior, but there's no way for them to get really specific about, oh, it's just for you. It could be anything. So it's still really is good to try and use this service health dashboard and get that. But do follow the Twitter handle. It might give you some clues.
Agreed.
So what last thing about that is that it's going to be rolled out to give feedback on Exchange, Online, SharePoint, and OneDrive, Skype for Business and Teams to begin with. Right. You'll be able to report an issue. There it is. And it's very basic, but I think it's more about, hey, me too, and and upvoting in a sense.
Yes. And like I said, I hope they have some sort of intelligence behind that, or will eventually, to help with that.
Yep. This one is a double banger or multi banger, right? There is a number of different things within this message.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Many updates to web parts available for modern page authoring. Not just one, but we're bringing a few.
Yes.
So I guess we could pass a few comments and opinions about this. The button and call to action is a nice one to have. It's really image, click on something, it's there, it goes off to a form or something that you want people to fill out. That's cool.
Right. Yep.
World
Agreed.
clock.
World clock it's a popular feature. And I think a lot of intranet in the boxes have one. I think a lot of people have been asking for those kind of things. Especially if you have partners, clients, or offices that are not in your time zone. So it's something that, one thing, the way I see this being used is having, if you have like a page for every one of your locations, for instance, in your intranet, then maybe having a world clock set to that time zone on that page, so that when people go there, they can see what time it is, right? So
yeah. The news web part gets a hero layout, so that's nice too. There's a few different layouts we already have there, but the hero layout seems to be quite popular with people because it's about getting that really eye-catching picture in with very little or no trimmings, and then you can drop your text over the top of it as well. So good to see that.
Yep, I agree.
Hero gets a second call to action. Highlighted you had some thoughts around this, the highlighted content and custom query filtering.
Yeah, I think this is showing Microsoft is listening to those that are wanting to, take some of these features to the next level. And for them saying, okay, we have the highlight content, and being able to take that and do some filtering and not have to do any deployment of PNP templates or anything like that, but being able to do some custom filtering on content for your, for properties for your content. and those custom properties that you set up, as well as just general and or kind of. I'm really liking seeing this coming into in what we call out of the box. Just that experience that's just there. I'm just liking that, to see that a little bit more. Coming from the developer side to power users being able to just set up this web part. So it's cool.
Just another thing here too around look and feel dividers. You can change the length and weight. So there's a few more controls about being able to change the way that your page looks. This is really the summary of it all. Now, one thing that we noticed about this update, unlike others, is that it doesn't really have any additional information, though I'd expect it to point off to one of those blog posts that came out when we had the SharePoint conference.
Right. Yeah. But we don't have a link.
So we can
no link for you.
Go there and find it.
Right. Happy searching, everyone.
Yeah. Now, these next 4 are from today's sponsor. Sorry.
Outlook.
Unofficial sponsor. Yeah, Outlook online, on the web, in the browser.
On the internets.
Outlook, apparently, is just Outlook.
Yes. Just Outlook.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, the first one's setting us up for another one a bit further down the list. New commandlet that allows you to add a few more attributes to rooms when you're booking a room. We can, well, up until now, we've been able to add things like capacity and say, yeah, great, this is how many people are in there. But now we're able to add things like AV equipment. What sort of screen do we have in there, and or is it projector, and do we have HDMI, or I don't know, things like that. Thankfully, this one has a blog post for it, but it's not going to be. It's going to be one that you as engineers will be using to
That's right.
duplicate these sorts of settings across a large scale for using PowerShell.
Right.
And then this one about recurring series room availability.
Yeah, and this is smart, I think, right? You're setting up a meeting and you want to make a recurring meeting, and you want to make sure that the room that you're booking is available every time you want it, the meeting's going to happen, and bringing that functionality to Outlook on the web internets.
I can't say. I know that it's probably a daily or weekly annoyance for those who organise meetings, and this hasn't been in place all the time. I haven't been working in an office where I've needed to book rooms frequently, but it's an important factor of trying to organise something. Is that room available, and do I really have to create separate events just to make sure that I get the room that I want?
Right. It's good, including. And talking about room booking, we'll also be able to, this new feature will allow us to do filters when we're doing room booking. And I want to take your attention to the image that's in this. Oh, wait, sorry. So there's a little bit of HTML oopsies. Yeah. Yes.
It doesn't really look like a room. Sorry.
Yeah. But if you go to the additional information, it has the image that's supposed to be there. But
right. Oops,
talking about the let's see, easily browse rooms and then find specific rooms. The second one with specific characteristics. So this is where we're filtering. We have the filters to say, what's the capacity? What does it have? Does it have a projector? That kind of stuff.
Look, it's even got a feature around accessibility too, which is a really cool consideration.
I agree. And I think, so going back to the announcement we saw before about the adding those additional properties to rooms, then this is where it's going to surface.
Nice one.
Yeah, I agree.
So you're able to add those. You're able to use Outlook in the browser on the web. Not yet on Outlook on desktop, but yeah, that's cool. We expect it will come eventually. This next one is surprising. It came shortly after yet another community conversation. This desire to be able to see your calendar and your tasks at a glance. And now that we've got to do, and you're working across those sorts of things, this new addition to, you would say, the to do button at the top right, now will show you two panes. You'll see calendar or tasks. You can click across the two.
And we're not able to see the additional information. Just takes you to a description, and there's no screenshots or anything that shows us more about what's happening. So what I wanted to kind of highlight is that how is this going to happen as far as how much space is it going to take? Is it just a drop down? So if you click on it, it just pops up and says, here's your calendar, and you can work within this. And then if you click on a message or click out, it goes away. Is it that it stays there until you hit the X that's shown in that screenshot? Does it do an overlay when it does that? Or does it take the whole side rail?
Yep. And
if it takes the whole side rail, then maybe it could just do calendar and task and not have tabs in there. I don't know. Maybe that's a future improvement. But so, I think what the community was talking about is that, like you said, that one place to see all your content, all the, what is your day like, and calendar and tasks. This gives you kind of that, right? You can see your calendar, but then you have to click to see your tasks. So this first iteration is fantastic. It's cool. I'm glad they're thinking about it, right?
Yep. And I expect too that this other button here beside the cross will take you through to that full view of your calendar or full view of your tasks. But I guess what we're wanting to get to is that overall tasks down one side, calendar on the other, and we'll see what comes of it.
Yeah, I really, and during that conversation that was happening in the community, I wholeheartedly agree. I'd like to see my whole day, right? See my email, see my calendar, see my tasks. So it's a great idea, and this is a good step in the right direction.
Did you ever use that trick where you open up the task pane, and this was before we had to do, and you could drag a task out onto your calendar and say, that's what I'm working on in this time block?
Yes. I think, a lot of people don't do that. They don't block time for tasks. You just kind of work, and someone comes and interrupts you, or you have meetings, and you just get to it when you get to it. And it's a very good idea to block time for tasks. I'm going to work on this task during this period. And so, I have used that. In the past.
I want to use that as a lead-in to jumping over something that's really not that important. Let's just skip past private channels for now.
Okay.
It's
Sounds
not
great.
that important. Because that behavior of grabbing a task, dragging it onto your calendar is a way of setting focus time for a specific task.
Exactly.
And there's this ability in My Analytics to say, I'm going to set some focus time. In fact, you get prompted, don't you? You can actually, hey, it looks like you've got a bit of a gap in your calendar, and would you like me to book some focus time there so you don't get interrupted?
Right.
And that now feeds into something in Teams, which what's this behavior, Daniel? What's happening?
Well, it's interesting, but it is using your time, your focus time in My Analytics to change your presence in Teams to saying focusing. And, this is very similar to in a meeting, right? Being, if it's on your calendar, your status gets changed and updated so people know you're in a meeting. But what this is functioning like is more like do not disturb, right, yes. Darrell? This is it's kind of like in a meeting, but you're focusing, and it doesn't act like you're in a meeting. It acts like you're do not disturb. So it's one of those things, and I think a lot of people don't use do not disturb. Here's the way I used it. I'm not going to put this on anyone else. I'm going to put it on me. This is the way I used it.
Productivity tips with Daniel.
We should have like a logo, and we should have
Yeah. Well, now we're going
theme
to have
song.
to come up with these segments, and have
We
all
are.
sorts of stuff.
You're gonna have to come up with a button that you push. That's like anyway.
Oh, I've got buttons. I've got buttons right
I know
here.
you got
There's
buttons.
plenty of buttons. Yeah.
No, we need one that's like soapbox conversations with Daniel.
Dip, dip, dimbo, tips with Daniel. Dip, dip, dimbo, go.
The way I use Do Not Disturb is when I'm trying to work and I keep getting interrupted, and I get fed up, and I'm like, is there a way to make these people stop messaging me? Oh, wait, there is. It's a functionality that's been built into communication products for a while. Do Not Disturb. The reason I say that is it's not proactive, right? I'm not doing it when I need to not be disturbed. I'm doing it because I've already been disturbed.
So you want focus time, and you're being disturbed, but you haven't signaled to people that you want this focus time.
Right. And so I think the key here is, can we have a product that knows we need focus time and knows we need to work on stuff and gives us that focus time and tells everybody, hey, leave him alone.
Mm-hmm. And like, if you are doing this already with meetings, I mean, it was going to say to someone, this person's in a meeting, when actually you're in focus time. So this is more accurate, right? This is actually a better reflection of what you are, who you are, what you're doing.
But what you are.
Yeah, okay. That's right. But look, the other thing I've got to say about this is it only comes when you use My Analytics. And I mean, thankfully, they've made that more widely available now.
Right.
So that's good.
It is.
But how many of us actually leave that pane open to take those prompts and that? No, because...
Not many.
Yeah, I mean, it's another pane within Outlook.
But
I know. Oh,
we need a rim shot button.
Oh, yeah, we do. No, they just get hit too many times. But I mean, look, it's good. It's good. I just think, like with My Analytics, it's a bit like the old Fitbit and things. You've got to use it to your advantage, take those prompts, and actually plan around it. So yeah, set some focus time for your focus time planning. Done. Right. That's our
that's
show.
The show.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
That's
See
right.
you later.
Yeah. I mean, did you want to hang around to hear about private channels? I've heard it's quite a big deal.
No, it's not. It's no big deal at all.
Well, there's some actions required. There are some actions required.
Actually, is a huge deal, and the private channels, which is something that has been in user voice for quite a while. And Microsoft has been communicating on user voice that working on this kind of functionality. So it's not a secret that this was in the pipeline that it was kind of being worked on. So here's our first message in the message center about private channels. It is being rolled out soon. And the timeline that we're given is early September 2019. With a worldwide end of September. So, over that month, rolling it out to everyone.
Do you find that a bit confusing? Like, if there's some actions required by the 23rd of August, and then it's rolling out at that time, what do we see in this? I mean, the actions are, you do not need to do anything, which is just a pretty standard response we see at the bottom of the messages.
This is the standard message. People.
But the relevant stuff, which is where you probably will want to do something,
Yeah,
set that user level policy around private channel creation.
Yeah, this time, like most times, we say don't pay attention to you don't need to do anything. You do need to do something. Not only do you possibly need to update your user level policy around private channel creation, as is mentioned here, but you also need to talk about this within your organization and come up with some governance around this. And governance is not saying no, right? Governance is, how are we going to use this? How do we make sure that when people say, private channels, how do I use this? How should I use this? They can easily find out because you have governance plan.
Well, it's a bit like getting a large meal and saying, oh, this is one of the things that I have as part of this meal. I better eat it. I better use it. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Just because you can. So I think you obviously need to pay attention to this. This is one of those big ones. And this is, we do this show as a way to help people understand if they need to be paying attention to a message, or if this is just, if it's just something to just, keep updated on, or if you need to take action now. This is one of those. You need to take action now, because most likely any kind of governance plan updating, any kind of training, your adoption efforts, those need to be updated, and it's going to take longer than, a couple days probably, right? So you do need to take action on this. But Darrell, I think there's a few things here that, and I actually saw, it's talking about a lock icon indicates a private channel. There was some weird thing. I opened up Teams, the latest Teams on my iOS device, and it was showing me Teams across my my organizations. Number one,
yes.
Weird, right? It was showing me various organizations.
Oh, okay. I actually had that same comment from a few others this week.
You did. So actually, this afternoon, you and I did a video.
Yep.
On Teams, we caught up, right? We had a chat, and when I did that, I brought up my iOS, I hit Teams, and I thought I hit the regarding 365 tenant, but I saw my other Teams from my other tenants in Teams, and I went,
others that you were guests of, plus your home tenant. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that's right. And so that's an aside note. That was weird, kind of cool, but weird. But what I saw was padlocks, and it says a lock icon indicates a private channel. But here's the thing: the lock icon was next to all the general channels of all the teams, which is the out of the box, the only channel you get when you create a team, unless you've have some advanced deployment scenarios. So that was weird too. I'm like, wait, all those are private? That's weird.
Potential misfires going on here with some things that are being rolled out in preparation. So. Yeah, maybe.
I think so. But sorry, I went on a tangent there. But I wanted to highlight, hey, you may be seeing some interesting things in your app. Yeah. But I wanted to ask you, what do you think about these three things, if you include the lock icon, but the information that we're being told by here about private channels? And then I'm going to ask you, as part of maybe that, of what do you see missing, or do you see anything missing? Do you have questions about how this is going to work that's not covered in this message? Because frankly, this message is really small for such a big thing.
Look, there's been, ever since the thought of private channels, there's been some mixed things across the fence of how is this going to affect other services in the background? What is the file storage going to look like if things are being privatized in a channel? What does it look like on the SharePoint space? So there's things like that which I don't think we can speak too much to. What is the behavior going to be like for some of these other apps? Like, you can create a plan for a channel, and that plan then going to be private, and how does that work? Is it just bubbled around that? So you expect these sorts of things to flow down. This is part of the reason why they've taken some time to consider how they're going to do this. In terms of, that's so. In
terms of what's there, though, what do you think about the first point, which is team owners can see all private channels in a team?
Yeah. Well, this is it. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, given that the owners have to, I guess, be like admins of the team. But I guess it depends on your use case. Are you trying to create a team that does have other private, unique spaces that even the owner shouldn't be able to see? It just means that the onus is on making sure that you've got the correct owner.
I agree with you, and I think the prospect of owners not being able to see content that by definition they're supposed to own. They're the owner of the team. The group owner, they're supposed to own that content, and not being able to see content that they are supposed to be an owner of, I think, it would be a bad thing. So here we are. They're at least going to see that the channel is there.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that, see, it says see all private channels in a team. It doesn't give us a whole lot of information here. Does that mean they are automatically members of every private channel in a team? Like they can go into it? I don't know.
That feels like that's the right answer. I mean, because it's all about, I guess, group or channel membership.
Yep. Right. So we don't have that answer. I'm expecting a blog post, an imminent blog post on this. And then the second one, team members can only see those private channels that they have been added to. So team owners can see all of the private channels, and team members can only see the ones that they're members of, which is exactly what you would think it would act like, right?
Yep. The other consideration is that user level policy, which let's just jump in and have a quick look at that additional information. Loading up here. There we go. So it's around yet another thing about whether you're going to allow members of a team to do something. Are you going to allow them to discover private teams, on or off? So there's the switch for that behavior that we just talked about.
Right.
And whether we're going to allow them to create private channels, or is it just an owner task? Hey, we needed private channel for this. Can you go create one?
Right.
So that is another policy that you can create.
And I could see discussions on both sides of both of those.
Yeah.
So, that definitely is going to be an organization conversation as well as a team conversation. A working team who is the, in this group that's doing the work. I think that's it could be different for every team. So.
Now, the one point you pointed out to me when we were having a chat beforehand is this is coming early September, rolled out by end of September. I think by Ignite, we should be hearing some stories about how people have experienced this and some of the things that they've found. So it'd be interesting to hear, like if there's talks or discussion groups or things to dive in and to see this. I myself was a bit on the fence beforehand, and now I'm working with a couple of customers that have explained some of that complexity. So it makes sense to have private channels in their scenarios.
Yeah, and I think some round table. Rats! I've already forgot the term.
Unconference.
Well, no, on conference sessions.
Yeah.
Or the meetups. Man, I can't remember the term, but there's opportunities for us to get together and discuss how are we using this, and those unconference areas where we can. I'm hoping there is an unconference session about this, of how do we use private channels to better increase the collaboration in our organization, but do it right. And I think you're right. I think you're correct in, we're going to have it for a couple of months, more than likely before Ignite ish, maybe a month, maybe two, depending on when you get it, and hearing some stories about where people are with it and where they went as far as the path, the journey of how we communicated to our users about it, how we did governance, how do we do adoption on it, all those kind of stories.
Yep, definitely. One of the benefits of attending a conference, hey, and networking with people and checking that out. So that was we've been a bit funny. We dodged around it because we knew we'd spend a bit more time on it. Thanks for hanging there and watching that a bit more. But that's our show for the week. We thank you for coming along, and we'll just keep engaging with us outside of the show as well. We are working on a couple of things to freshen up the format. I'm also doing some experimenting with, like, can we try and push this to our LinkedIn page as well, getting a bit of engagement there.
Right.
So yeah, just and keep giving us your feedback. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.